Coming at you live from my home studio in beautiful La Puente, California. This is the All Dodgers podcast. What is going on, Clint Nation? Happy Monday to you. It is a busy Monday. The Dodgers are making moves. They're going crazy. My friend Jeff Snider is here. We're going to talk all about it. Yes, on today's show, we're talking about this deadline. Dodgers just pick up Rosario. They've had a busy day. Already said all those type of things. Are they done? What else is coming at this deadline? We'll kind of pontificate. We'll have a little bit of fun. We'll roster bait and all that kind of stuff. Plus Monday overreactions, and I'll look ahead later on to this mini series with the Padres coming up. All in another edition of All Dodgers Live. I am, of course, Clint Pasillas. Find me as Real FRG on the social media platforms. Follow me there. I talk about the Dodgers sometimes there. Thank you guys for 7,000 subscribers. I'm just trying to hit all my notes here that I need to make sure I get through. Guys, if you wouldn't mind, hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 8,000. Let's get to 8 billion subscribers here on the channel. If you're watching live, drop into the comments. What do you guys think about this Dodgers day so far? It has been busy. It has been a busy one. You know, if you wanted to bet on something, you guys could have used our friends at Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, listeners of the show can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics to baseball, Formula One racing, and much more. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while games are being played. When that game is over, head on over to their online casino, get in on a game of blackjack, get in on a game of poker. They have over 150 slot games that you can choose from to be playing there. So head to the website today, get in on the action, use that promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. You get that 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet Online. The game starts here and the show starts here with my friend Jeff Snider. What's going on, Snider? It has been a busy frickin' day, Jeffrey.
Yeah, hopefully it's going to get busier, but either today or tomorrow. But yeah, so far, definitely plenty to talk about. That's for sure, even if it's not maybe the moves that we hope to eventually talk about.
It's funny, a couple of all of the names. I did a video Sunday morning, and all of the names that the Dodgers have acquired today are names I did not mention. So clearly this is a very much thinking outside the bun sort of trade deadline for everybody, especially for Andrew Friedman and company. It's just the state of the deadline. There's not a lot out there, but let's talk about what the Dodgers have done. The latest one, just minutes before we go live here, the Dodgers reacquire Amed Rosario from the Tampa Bay Rays. Somebody said in our in the Discord chat talking about so they can get Rosario, but they couldn't get Randy Arozarena last week. Trade away a guy, Michael Flynn, not the guy who's in politics and all that, but you add Rosario, you add to Edman and Michael Kopech today. Is this a good deadline? Was this a good pre-trade deadline day haul?
Yeah, if this is the entire trade deadline, then it's underwhelming for sure. But you know, when we are, what are we now, about 21 hours before the trade deadline as we're talking, there's still time to make other moves, and there's still targets out there. Like, yeah, Arozarena, you and I both would have loved to have Randy on the team. Yeah. Beyond that, like, I don't know that there's, and I guess Isaac Paredes, those two guys are the only guys who've been moved who I wanted the Dodgers to get. And so the fact that they, like, Tommy Edman, it's a wild card for sure. He hasn't played at all this year. But at when he's healthy, he's better than, you know, throwing out random names that may or may not be applicable. Say Kevin Biggio or Kike Hernandez.
Random names.
Not the, you know, Kike has the occasional power pop. Biggio has the occasional good series in Houston. But overall, Tommy Edman's an upgrade over those two guys. Amed Rosario is an upgrade over, especially how he's hitting this year. Like, he's an upgrade over those guys. And I don't know if this actually means that Kike will be off the roster. And I love Kike Hernandez. I don't need him on the Dodgers right now. Yeah. And so, yeah, especially if this is all building up to the Dodgers getting Jack Flaherty or Garrett Crochet or, you know, I'll say it, Tarik Skubal. You know, if the Dodgers go and get a good starting pitcher, I think this has the makings of being a really solid trade deadline.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, it's as of right now, it is something. People are dropping some grades in there. Mr. Classic giving it a B minus or a B. Kenny Chung with the C plus, B minus. We got so guys, sound off with your grades. What do you think so far? I think there still is that need for a starting pitcher, but maybe not with some of these guys coming back. I think we'll know. We'll feel better about the starting pitching situation on Friday when Yoshinobu Yamamoto throws a baseball. But Friday is several days after Tuesday's deadline, so they got to work now. But we'll talk about who else they could get in just a few minutes. We got to talk about now this deadline. What they did is they gave themselves a lot of options, a lot of fallback plans. It feels like options if Muncy does not come back. Maybe there's, the groin situation for CT3 is worse than we anticipated. Maybe Miguel Rojas's forearm issue is worse than we anticipated. I know we've talked about it a whole bunch. I think the last time we talked about it as well on your show, guys, if you don't know, he also is the host of Locked On Dodgers here on the Internet Machine. So make sure you check him and Vince out every weekday morning. They put in a lot of work for you guys there, so make sure you listen. But I think we talked about it last time. At this point, do we count on anything for Max Muncy?
No, you can't count on anything for sure. I'm not saying there's no way he's going to provide anything, but you absolutely have to go into this trade deadline assuming he's not. Yeah. And I think what they did, getting a guy like Edman, who, he can play third base if you need him to, but he's not. It's not like trading for Nolan Arenado. If you trade for Nolan Arenado, you said, okay, Max Muncy, you're done for the year. But getting a guy, I don't know if Rosario, I know he's played all over the field, probably not much third base, but the Dodgers have options at third base now, where if Muncy doesn't come back, they have some options, which I think it's a hard situation to be in where you don't exactly know what your margins are going to look like. And knowing, the fan base, like you can see in the chat right now in this thing that, I've seen the phrase dumpster diving a couple times, but the fact is the Dodgers have superstars, and you'd love to have a superstar at every spot in the lineup, but that's not realistic. And so what they need, we've seen when they're successful this year, it's when the bottom of the line is getting on base, when guys aren't striking. Tommy Edman doesn't strike out much. That's awesome. Amed Rosario doesn't strike out much. One of my concerns that I mentioned on Locked On Dodgers the other day is even with Gavin Lux's resurgence, if it's totally for real, he still hasn't hit lefties well. And so what about against tough lefty? Amed Rosario accounts for that. He can play second base against lefties. They're addressing these things. And that's why I say, if they can make the big move now, there's still questions about who's going to play where, how often, all of that. But, they kind of have more of the makings of a good, solid team now with the moves that they made today.
Yeah, it gives Dave Roberts a lot more. What does this team love? Optionality. I don't know if some people are happy to give Dodger or Dave Roberts more, opportunities to make some moves or make changes in games, because sometimes, we pay attention to the ones that don't work out. But when you're talking about, again, being a floor raiser, Rosario's better than Biggio. Like you said, he's arguably better than Kike Hernandez, at least this version that we're seeing right now. Tommy Edman, I like him more in center field than I like what we've seen out of Andy Pages. And to me, I don't know if you agree with this one. To me, I look at the Tommy Edman deal, outside of really enjoying the fact that we get another guy that can get the call, Tommy, hey, Tommy. I enjoy doing that. But to me, he's somebody who I think they plug into center field and just let him run with it and kind of take away any of those defensive question marks and issues. Right, wrong, what do you think about Edman as the de facto center fielder?
I think that's a possibility, but they also currently have a black hole offensively at third base. And so it comes down to, do you want the black hole defensively in center or the black hole offensively at third base? And, center is definitely a position, since we don't know what Edman's going to do offensively. He has been solid offensively throughout his career. Nothing spectacular, but solid. But we don't know for sure, as people have pointed out in the chat, that he hasn't played at all of the big leagues this year. We don't know what he's going to be like offensively. So maybe center field is a safer place to put him where, at least he's providing good defense. And that's an upgrade for sure. What that does to the outfield, does that just push Andy Pages back to right field? Is then, I've been on the trade Andy probably has for a good starting pitcher train for a while, and maybe that still happens. But whatever it is, I do think Edman in center field might make a lot of sense given what they have right now.
I would call Tommy Edman somebody that is painfully league average, which is nice for this team, knowing that we've seen them get beat on defense a number of times, particularly in the playoffs. So it's nice to know that they're kind of shifting towards defense first. One of the other things I've argued about the last few weeks as well, because I don't know how I feel about today yet. I'm real mixed on whether or not I really, really like it. Well, I'll say I don't really, really like it. Kind of touching on what some of the people are saying there. Like I see JR who had a comment earlier saying, let's pick up the trash. This was not the 2021 deadline. There was not a clear Max Scherzer and Trey Turner available out there. Like you said, Jeff, you couldn't go and get a Nolan Arenado. You couldn't get the perfect pieces that you wanted. So you have to kind of adapt and adjust and work with what is available. And if going out and getting, Amed Rosario and telling him, hey, you're going to be our third baseman kind of moving forward, as long as he knows he's going to be there, I think you're in a better position. The team is now in a better position than they were on Sunday and Saturday, and that's where I feel better about it. But I still don't think it was like, it's not the deadline people really want or needed or were hoping for. I don't know about the needed part, but I think it's the deadline the Dodgers kind of needed at this point, and there's still 12 hours or so. Almost a little under 21 hours. Math. I figured out the math. 21 hours until the final.
Helps that I said it like 5 minutes ago.
You expected me to be listening to you? Come on now.
I do not.
That's not how these things work. I do got
one of us is talking, the other one's checking Twitter to see what's happening.
Exactly. I do got to hit. We got a $4.99 super chat from our friend Richard Flores. Says little Andy F has been busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. Need a starting pitcher and F the Dodger Stadium parking lot, which we always appreciate. And he also gives an A- to Andrew Friedman so far. Again, working with what is available, with what is out there. This is kind of the best that they have.
Yeah, it's you look at center fielders. It's Luis Robert, and he's not great defensively, and he's been really bad offensively for the last few weeks. So it's like, there's not guys out there who are just obvious upgrades and obvious fits for the Dodgers. And like I said, you and I both wanted Randy Arozarena, who's also not great defensively.
Yeah.
Mostly that was, I think Arozarena would have been a star in LA.
Yes.
But beyond that, it's like there are holes, and as much as it frustrates people to hear this, some of it might end up depending on guys coming back from injury. But even when you look at like, if these moves today get Kevin Biggio and insert name of other player off the roster, whether it's Kike Hernandez or Nick Ahmed, I guess. It's an upgrade. I like Ahmed because defensively he's awesome at shortstop. So for me, Kike, with all I've said all along, there's no room for Chris Taylor and Kike Hernandez on this roster because they serve the same role. Well, Tommy Edman is now the same thing, except Edman's the version of Kike that doesn't strike out and plays better defense and is a switch hitter. So it's like, for me, this is an upgrade, and you can start putting together a lineup for the postseason that you could start to think, well, this lineup, assuming Mookie Betts comes back healthy, assuming Mookie Betts shows up in the postseason, so much of it is going to be about who shows up in the postseason. Like if you imagine a lineup of, Will Smith catching, Freddie at first, Lux and Rosario platooning at second, depending on the pitcher, Mookie at short, Muncy at third, Teo in left, Edman in center, Pages in right, platooning with Jason Hayward, I guess, maybe. If those guys show up, there's potential for that to be a solid lineup, and better than solid if like the superstars play like superstars.
Yeah, again, I'll go back to the whole idea of optionality. I think our friend David Vassay pointed out that the 2021 Braves, they kind of had that kind of roster with a bunch of interchangeable pieces that everybody sort of had their role with Eddie Rosario, with Jock Peterson, not necessarily all of them being everyday guys or whatever it may be, but finding spots, finding roles to capitalize and make a big difference in eventually getting that team to a World Series championship. I mean, obviously, guys, there's a lot more we're going to go in on this. I had a question I wanted to ask Jeff, which is, Jeff, I need you to help me like the Michael Kopech edition.
Okay, I'm here for you. He throws really, really hard.
We got those guys.
Not really, not like Michael Kopech. And Michael Kopech, for me, has always been a guy whose talent has far exceeded his performance. And I think the White Sox might be a common factor in guys like that. I think the White Sox are a bad organization, and I think that the Dodgers are a good organization as far as getting the most out of, especially relief pitchers. You look at guys like Ryan Brazier and Yency Almonte for a year, and Evan Phillips, and these guys who, and I can already hear the chat talking about Evan Phillips' last 2 weeks. The fact is, even if Evan Phillips is bad for the rest of his life, the Dodgers still stole him and got 2 years of awesomeness out of that.
That's a really good point.
And so if they can get 3 months of awesomeness out of Michael Kopech, it's huge. And the fact is, with stuff as good as his, he should be better than he is. And so I think the Dodgers, whether it's a usage tweak, pitch usage, or whatever it is, tweaking a grip, whatever, I think Michael Kopech has potential to be an elite reliever. He hasn't done it yet. I'm not saying he will be. I'm saying there's potential there. And obviously the Dodgers see that potential, think that there's something they can do with that.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one area I trust the Dodgers in helping players, it is with pitching, and that is tried and true. We've seen that time and time again with guys like Shelby Miller last year. Within the past, somebody like Brandon Morrow. That's what they do. They bring Anthony Banda. They bring these guys in. You already mentioned Evan Phillips. They bring these guys in, and it's usually just a slight change. Ryan Brazier last year, slight change that turns them into something good or something special. And the fact that we're looking at, I saw somebody in the chat, Joe Pulliam Matthias saying, I really hate these moves. And I understand that because, I mean, we're I don't know if we're blessed, if we're cursed, whatever it is. As Dodgers fans, there's always that expectation, like you said earlier, Jeff. You want to go out, you want to see them add an all-star to every possible hole and expect everything to be glorious. But the reality is there's just not those guys available. Even Luis Robert, as much as he would have made sense as the center field option, he's having a bad year. He's always hurt. I got a lot of crap online talking. I called him the dependable girl or whatever. Yeah, he's dependable, but he's also, maybe he's bedridden or in a coma or whatever. But at least he ain't out messing around on you.
Maybe this tells us more about your taste in women.
Well, when in Rome, but still, these are just the guys that are available and out there. And I'm not thrilled with Kopech, especially with some of the guys we know are coming back. I mean, Michael Grove has had different, different stretches where his season has been really good. We don't know what Bazooka Gratterall is going to be like. Ryan Brazier, if he's going to be somebody that's in there, but he's somebody where I look at, if you look at who they're replacing, he's replacing Ryan Yarbrough, and I'm okay with that. Or he's replacing Yohan Ramirez, and we should all be okay with that situation. So I guess I'll reserve the judgment on Kopech at the moment. I want to talk for a second about the losses, if we want to call them losses. Of course, the biggest name the team trades away today, Miguel Vargas. It was clear he was never going to have a role. He was never going to have a path to playing time with this organization. Not a very good defender, and he's going to get an opportunity in the hell known as Chicago, the South Side there. Any thoughts? Was this like an overpay to you in any way, or is this just kind of like the Dodgers do well, giving up Vargas and Albertus, and I forget the other kid's name, Garcia?
Perez.
Yeah, Perez. There you go. Is this an overpay, or do you think they did well?
I don't think it's an overpay. Miguel Vargas is a DH. on a team that has a DH signed for the next 10 years. He was never going to play regularly for the Dodgers, which doesn't make him any less valuable. Like, not that they should just give him away, but the fact that he really is a DH, maybe a first baseman, or a left fielder on a team that doesn't care about bad defense, it does mean that he has less value than a guy with his hitting ability would otherwise. And so, yeah, I think they used him to, I mean, he basically headlined this deal from the Dodgers standpoint.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers got 2 major leaguers for him. And obviously Albertus is potentially an elite defensive shortstop. You know, we'll see what Alexander Albertus turns into. We might not know for 3 or 4 years at least the full ramifications of this trade. But for Vargas to headline a trade for 2 major leaguers when he had no value to the Dodgers, I don't think it's an overpay for sure. I think it's a solid move.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're hoping they could find ways to maybe utilize some of those other guys where maybe we're less enthralled with now, like a Bobby Miller headlining a Tarik Skubal deal or something like that. It's not quite a reality. We'll talk about that in a second. I do want to shout out our friend IB Strokin gifted 5 memberships to the channel earlier, so I very much appreciate, as always, IB Strokin hanging out in the chat and being so giving and so gracious to you fine folks here in the chat. But I wanted to see if there was, I could have sworn I saw a comment in there. I saw somebody mention Jim Bowden. We never want to talk about Jim Bowden whenever we can, but I guess we can kind of.
I love talking about Jim Bowden.
Yeah,
you
this
know
is
that.
fair. Oh, I know. I miss reading those off-season articles. Those were always a blast. So this is where we're at right now, guys.
Hey, did you see the breaking news just now?
Is there breaking news?
In the last couple minutes, not quite breaking news about the Dodgers. Alexander Albertus, who we're talking about, who the Dodgers just traded to the White Sox, is done for the year with a stress reaction in his left tibia.
Oh.
So it says the
Even
injury is
better
not considered to be serious. It's expected to heal with rest. It's anticipated he'll be ready for spring trading. But, you know, obviously, clearly both teams knew about that before the trade, but that maybe gives a little bit of context for that part of the trade too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it makes the Dodger side of it look that much better if you're giving up damaged goods or something like that. But I wanted to move forward a little bit. What else do you think? I mean, we've talked around it. We talked a little bit about it. But what else do you think is in the tank for this team? Like, are they still going to be in on big names like Crochet? Is it going to be a Jack Flaherty, who's probably, you know, the 3rd best starting pitcher available, but really the best, very obviously available name? Like, who else should this front office target?
Yeah, I'm positive that the Dodgers are still targeting a starting pitcher. And you know, that would be either, now that Kikuchi got traded, much to your chagrin, it would be either.
That would have been this year's Lance Lynn, by the way. Kikuchi was 100% this year's Lance Lynn, and I was terrified that Friedman would go that route, but thankfully not. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be either Crochet, Skubal, or Flaherty. I agree with you. I think Flaherty is the most likely, especially now that the Astros got Yusei Kikuchi. You know, that's one more potential bidder in the Flaherty sweepstakes out probably. And so, you know, who knows, but I definitely think that's the Dodgers' plan, is to get a big or big-ish name starting pitcher in the next 20 and a half hours.
Now we're at 20 and a half. I appreciate that.
20 hours and 35 minutes. So.
I heard the math that time. A lot of people in the chat. Oh, I see Pinsanity being a troll saying, or somebody mentioning Dick Mountain in there. Guys, Rich Hill is not going to be an option. The Dodgers would never sign Rich Hill at this point. They don't have roster space to hold somebody like Rich Hill. That's an entire different issue for this team, especially with some guys coming back from injury, coming off the 60-day IL very soon. Even more moves need to happen just so they don't, you know, up and DFA them and lose some talent. But let's settle in on the Crochet thing, because that's kind of remains the biggest name, the biggest target that's out there. And Crochet keeps getting, the news surrounding him keeps getting bigger, keeps getting more eyebrow raising. But apparently he pissed off the Chicago White Sox GM, Chris Getz there. I spoke with MLB Network insider Steve Phillips earlier today on Dodgers territory with myself and Alana Rizzo. And Phillips was talking about how there was straight up like just an awkward move. Why would you go out of your way and kind of apparently flying, from the seat of his pants there. Like, he didn't talk to the team about it at all, but, just something that made no sense to Phillips. I think it made no sense to Chris Getz, and I think it really, really damaged the perception around Crochet and the market around Crochet. But still, some people, including LA Times Jack Harris, saying that doesn't necessarily preclude the Dodgers from going out and getting him. Do you think there's a reality where Crochet is still in play?
I do. And I think there's two different reasons why it could be possible. One, I don't know if you read Ken Rosenthal's article about this, saying basically there's no way that in real life Garrett Crochet would get traded to a new team and then walk into the locker room and say, hey, Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, glad to be your teammate. By the way, I'm not going to play in October. It's just not going to happen. And then the flip side is the Dodgers are in more of a position than a lot of teams to just give him that extension if that's what he wants. And, you make the trade and then you work something out, whether it's, a bonus structure or an extension, whatever it is. Say, look, we traded for you because we need you in October. Mm-hmm. We understand you have concerns about your health long-term. We understand you have to be looking out for number one. So let's make this work for both sides. The Dodgers print money, especially with Shohei Ohtani on the team now.
Yeah.
The Dodgers print money. And so there's no money thing that's going to make them say, oh, that's not going to work for us. So I think a combination of those two things make the trade, knowing you can peer pressure in worst case, but then also you can go and try to make it work for both sides and make it happen, and even help him rehabilitate his image. Let him do it on the down low, and tell him that, look, you hold a press conference today saying this is blown out of proportion. I can't wait to pitch in October for the Dodgers, and go from there, and even throw jabs if you want at the White Sox. After being drafted by the White Sox, I never really thought about the possibility of pitching in October. So it caught me by surprise. There's plenty of things they can do. And I don't see anything about this that would deter the Dodgers, especially if it lowers his price a little bit, because it does lower his value for other teams.
This is fair. Guys, hit that like button if you want the Dodgers to go out and get Garrett Crochet. Hey, that is how you engagement bait right there. Are there any pieces that are off limits to you in a Crochet deal? Because we've seen Robleski, who's been pretty dang decent in a very small sample size. I'm really, really high on River Ryan, seeing him over these two starts in Dodger blue. I almost wonder if, there's the warped reality where there's a piggyback situation, and I feel okay with it over somebody like Garrett Crochet. But on the other hand, Garrett Crochet is he's like a man. He's like a big beefy dude. How painful would it be to kind of let those guys go, but to go out and get somebody who maybe increases your World Series odds? I wouldn't go as high as tenfold, but we'll say significantly increases your World Series odds to get somebody like a Crochet over these rookie unknowns.
I think that there's a line somewhere. I don't like the idea of the Dodgers trading River Ryan. The good news is River Ryan is older than Garrett Crochet. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
So
Dodgers have a lot of older prospects, as we've seen.
Where the White Sox are, I don't know that they would be looking for a guy who's already in the big leagues. They might be looking at some of the slightly younger prospects, because the White Sox aren't going to contend in the next couple of years. Why would you put yourself in a situation where, okay, good, we just got the last 2 years of River Ryan before free agency for our potential contending window, when they might prefer to have a guy who's not in the big leagues yet, whether it is a younger pitcher or going with the offense side, guys. So nobody's really untouchable. But I would definitely not like them to trade River Ryan. I agree with you, Justin Robleski, especially if part of the goal of keeping Crochet healthy is for him to be a starter, but a 4-inning starter for a couple months or a month, to help limit the innings. Crochet for 4, River Ryan for 4. That's a pretty solid 8 innings, whatever it is. So, I would guess that the White Sox would be looking for younger guys anyway. If we're talking Tarik Skubal, nobody's off limits. And even though I'd still like to keep River Ryan even in that trade.
Yeah, again, I think River Ryan could be somebody special for this team in October. And going back, I didn't piggyback or follow up to what you had said on the Crochet situation and him kind of being the master of his own destiny and being able to just like kind of talk and address the situation. And if he were to be like, yeah, you know what I said, it was under the advisement of somebody else and it was probably something I shouldn't have said. I would love to have an opportunity to go play postseason play, and I'm happy to do anything my future team, even if he's still saying it as a White Sox player. If he's saying that now, which to make that address now, it's probably not going to happen, of course, but still to kind of get that out there now, get that out of the way, I think it would help. But
I wonder if this is going to do a little bit of ding to the reputation of the agency that
CAA,
let Garrett Crochet do that and let Shohei Ohtani's interpreter steal millions of dollars from him. Like, it's been a rough few months for CAA. We'll put it that way.
It definitely has been rough. Our friend Tim Rogers is in the chat. Of course, Dodgers 2080, Blue Madness, one of the fine shows here you get on the YouTube machine, talking about Crochet, saying, I am not sold on Crochet being a factor in October. I think like you had mentioned, Jeff, what Rosenthal wrote about, I think Nightingale also wrote about it. I said something, I think to Doug last Thursday when he was on my show and we were talking about the Crochets. Like, there's no way in hell this guy could walk into a clubhouse, look at all-stars, superstars, future Hall of Famers like Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, be like, hey, guys, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Sorry, you're on your own in the postseason. That's just not, as an athlete, which both Jeff and I are elite athletes, as you guys can see and tell. You need to be in there. You want to be that guy that helps your team, gets you over, puts you over the edge or whatever it is, and whatever role that would need to be. So if Crochet says I'm gonna stay on a starter's role, we'll talk about it. We're the Dodgers, and somebody, a few people saying in the chat like, who the fook are you? Like, no, you don't get to walk in here and call your shots, kid. Like, you've been in the minor leagues this whole time, but now it's the Dodgers. We're out here trying to win championships so we don't piss off Shohei Ohtani. So,
yeah, this is absolutely the definition of calling somebody's bluff.
Yeah.
Like, Crochet is, ill-advisedly trying to maximize his leverage right now in his situation. But if the Dodgers called his bluff, yeah, he's going to pitch in October. You know what? World Series ring, even just the postseason shares. If you win the World Series, you're getting $500,000 right there, dude, just for being on the. You think your teammates are going to vote you a postseason share if you sit out October? I don't think so. So, there's financial incentive too.
I would just like to put it out there now, Dodgers, I would like a postseason season share. Thank you. That is now out in the ethos. Either way, we're getting partially there. Because our friend Noah Ortega, real quick, super chat, $1.99 says, out of nowhere, Max Fried, if he agrees to an extension. Max Fried, that's somebody they explore in the offseason. I don't think Max Fried is moving anywhere right now. However, Braves,
why don't you
Braves
read
has
Dan
some problems.
Daughtry's comment?
Where's that one?
Coward.
Go ahead. You got one. I didn't see it.
Clint, why do you only co-host with people prettier than you? This is what the people want to know, Clint.
Is this your burner account? It's got to be a
Daughtry?
burner. I saw you typing.
Hey, I do like Chris Daughtry. I wonder if he's related. But yeah, it is a good question though.
Listen, sexy sells here on the internet. That's why I bring aboard fine, beautiful people like Jeff Snider and Doug McCain and whoever else, or my friend Tim Rogers, who's going to be joining me through the trade deadline tomorrow. I will be live tomorrow, guys. I think we're starting about 90 minutes before the deadline and going 30 minutes through the deadline. So, friends, hang around.
I mentioned the other day, my brother said that when you were on Locked on Dodgers with me, it looked like it was an Eddie Murphy movie where Eddie Murphy plays all the characters, and I just put on glasses to be one of the people to just differentiate us. I don't think we look that much alike, but you know what? I could see how chubby bearded fellas with backwards Dodgers hats might look similar.
I saw also a comment much earlier asking, I think it was AB was in the chat, and they couldn't really get it in there at that time. That's what she said. But asking if I ever wear my hat forward. I was like, yeah, in reality, but I call this getting into character. Plus, it blocks the lights. If you have your bill forward, it blocks the lights.
That's true. I wear my hat forward on Locked on Dodgers. I turned it around so that I could be more like you for this stream, so that people, if they just see a screenshot, they'll know that's not Locked on Dodgers. That's something else.
That is love. That is somebody duplicating himself with the wish.com version.
Here, I'll take the glasses off. Now we're the same person.
guys, which one is Jeff? Which one is Clint? I'll help
Clint's
everybody.
the one who can see the screen right now.
I'll help everybody by putting the names under us right there. All right, let's get back into actual baseball talk. Actually, it's not for a second because I saw Diane saying, we got a bunch of people in the chat here right now. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us so far. These shows only happen because of you guys, so we appreciate you. Over 500 live in the chat right now. Mash that thumbs up button if you would not mind. Hit the heart button in the chat, and all of your Dodgers dreams will come true. Hit the subscribe button as well. That's another way that you can really help support the channel. Other ways, if you're looking to financially help support the channel, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/realfrg, and we also have a Discord server that you get access to through Patreon, as well as somewhere on the screen here on YouTube. YouTube members you can join, and you get Discord, you get access to the voicemail hotline we'll be hearing from in a little bit. But there's my plug. There's my shameless self-promotion. Now, Jeff, I've got me out of the way. Tarik Skubal, percentage chance that he gets moved tomorrow, and percentage chance of that move happen where he's coming to LA.
If Tarik Skubal gets traded tomorrow, I'd say 60% chance it's to the Dodgers.
Okay.
I say 15% chance overall that he gets traded, which means 9% chance that Tarik Skubal gets traded to the Dodgers tomorrow, because that's 60% of 15%. Hashtag math, baby.
Nobody said there would be math involved in this.
20 hours and 22 minutes, Clint.
You're supposed to be a writer. You're supposed to be a podcaster and blogger and all of this.
A man about town, a bon vivant.
You know what? Nobody said anything about math. Nobody said you can do math. You didn't tell me this when I brought you aboard at the other side. If I would have known that, you could have totally had me fudge my taxes. But anyways, Jack Flaherty, I think, as we already said, that's the guy who's the most realistic. Even your 9% feels high to me with Skubal, just because how can the Tigers trade away one of their homegrown guys, one of their dudes, who's also the American League Cy Young Award frontrunner at the moment? I just cannot see it happen. So instead of your 9%,
and the reason they might
I'm going to go 8%.
Okay. The
yeah.
reason they could do it is because they have a lot of pitching, and the Dodgers have a lot of position player prospects. So if you look at Skubal, the what I read a while back that kind of made a good case for it was the Tigers aren't contending this year. They're probably not going to contend next year, which means you're looking at 1 year of Tarik Skubal for contention. And you have other pitchers coming up through your system who maybe won't be as good as Tarik Skubal, but would their value be better off served getting Dalton Rushing and, list 4 other Dodgers offensive prospects who could help them for, that window where guys who aren't ready right now, but who will be ready in a couple of years when they're ready to contend. That's why I think they could do it. I agree with you. I think the PR hit, I think it makes sense for them to trade him. I think it's the PR reasons is why it's only 15%.
Great point there. Yeah, because if you're looking at, let's say, like a 5-for-1, if you're looking at a Machado deal like we saw back in 2018, I think that was 6 Dodgers going back to Baltimore, or 5 Dodgers or whatever it is. Of course, none of them really panned out. With all due respect to Zach Pop or whoever it is that's actually done well-ish right now. I mean, at this point, you're giving up Rushing, hopefully Cartaya instead. You're giving up, some of these guys we're seeing now, Bobby Miller, River Ryan, who he's kind of the guy I would hate to lose, him and Rushing and DePaula. But still, they're asking for DePaula. They're asking for River Ryan. They're asking for Robleski. They're asking for a lot of these dudes, Landon Knack in there. And would that help rebuild that organization immediately? Oh, hell yeah. But again, that PR hit, I don't know that an organization is willing to take that, even as much as it could help the club for, maybe kind of advance to being a playoff contender or something close to it in, maybe advance it by 2 or 3 years or something like that. But still,
we got 568 people watching us right now, Clint.
Let's go. And that's all YouTube, guys. I appreciate you find folks here on the YouTube. I'm embarrassed to say, So Twitter changed things where I don't get to stream on Twitter anymore unless you pay for it. So I paid for it, but yet it still didn't let me stream. I wanted to make sure we're having a lot of fun here during the trade deadline, but whatever. Put an FX in the chat so we can tell Elon he sucks. But yeah, no, this is fun. This is our favorite time of the year. It is trade deadline eve, and breaking news, which has already been in the chat a little bit, but Frankie Montas former Dodger great, going to the Reds in a deal per Mark Feinsand. So Reds suddenly buying kind of out of nowhere, but all of that aside, let's go Flaherty. We're about to talk Flaherty, and
Montas was on the Reds, wasn't he? He's going to the Brewers.
Is that what it is? Is that what I missed? Did I miss
Yeah.
Get that one backwards?
Brewers,
Brewers,
are
okay.
selling.
Brewers, okay, now that makes a lot more sense. I half read it and then just started talking and saying words. Jack Flaherty, of course, smartly, the Tigers scratch him from his start today. The Yankees are supposed to be in. I'm hearing it's down, or we're seeing that it's down to the Yankees and the Dodgers. Of all of these names we have mentioned so far, if the Dodgers are making one more trade, one more acquisition, I think it's Flaherty. I think this is the year. This was the guy I was all in on last year. Thankfully, the Dodgers didn't get him. I mean, he probably would have been just as good as Lance Lynn. Let's be honest. But really bad with Baltimore. He says he's kind of learned from that experience, understands how to navigate the trade deadline now. And again, the most realistic trade target is in, we'll say 24 hours from now. Is Jack Flaherty a Dodger?
Probably. I do, because I think the Dodgers really do want a starting pitcher. And like you said, he's the most realistic. So yeah, I think the Dodgers are going to do what it takes to get Jack Flaherty. I'm on board with that. I wasn't on board last year. I haven't been a huge Jack Flaherty fan the last couple of years, but I do think the changes he's made this year, his health is the only real thing that scares me. He was always, for the last couple of years, been a guy who I've been like, this guy should strike out more guys than he does. And he didn't. And this year he does. He's gotten that a little bit better. And I think that what Flaherty has, if he's healthy, and that is a question mark because he's had a couple of those PRP injections, but coming home, he's a LA boy, can bring over his friend Max Fried in the offseason next year. I think Jack Flaherty would be a really good acquisition for the Dodgers. They don't need him to come in and necessarily be the game one postseason starter, but he can absolutely be a good addition to a postseason rotation and gives them, if then you could look at a best case scenario. If Glasnow is right, and Gavin Stone and Jack Flaherty and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, that's potentially a great postseason rotation. There's a lot of question marks in there. I know I'm not even looking at the chat. I can feel Michael Carrillo typing about how much he hates when I say the word if. But that gives them potential. Crochet, kind of the same thing, maybe bigger health question marks, but those guys, I think that's what the Dodgers are looking for, is a guy who can slot in the 2 or 3 spot in the postseason rotation, but the type of guy who would be a number one guy if he wasn't on the same team as Tyler Glasnow and Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Yeah, Cole said, why would his health scare you? It's not like we have a lot of injuries on the team at the moment. He's like, wait. Yeah.
That Cole, he's such a jokester.
That Cole. But
he's got that star next to his name.
A fine YouTube member here on the channel. Yeah, we know. I mean, the Dodgers wouldn't have needed to be this active at the deadline if it wasn't for all of these injuries and problems. And hey, guys, I'm going to say it again, and our pets' heads falling off, but that's the reality of where it's at. This team is hamstrung, got hamstrung by injuries and some ineffectiveness to the point where they needed to go out and get themselves somebody like a Flaherty at the minimum, because we don't know. There's that big if with Yamamoto. We don't know if Buehler's ever going to figure it out, and I'm starting to feel more and more like he's not. And Bobby Miller still just kind of fluttering in the wind. Those 3 guys, even 2 of those 3 guys, are doing anything close to the back of the baseball card, even though Yamamoto doesn't really have a back of a baseball card so much, at least at MLB. Two of those 3 guys, if they had 2 of them, we would not be in this position. But that's the reality that we find ourselves in. And we look at somebody like Yamamoto, where if he comes back, it's a very, very nice addition. But if he doesn't, you hope that you do have Jack Flaherty in your back pocket, but if he does, all of a sudden, like I look at Yamamoto, that is the ace of this staff. I think he is the ace when he's healthy. Yamamoto or Glasnow kind of fallen on extended hard times. Do you have any worry about Glasnow? Just to throw that out there.
Not major worries. I think that he would benefit from the Dodgers getting another starter and maybe going with a 6-man rotation. But yeah, I think that a guy like Glasnow is going to have his ups and downs and his ebbs and flows. This stuff looks good. It's just, a command thing right now, probably. I'm not entirely unconcerned, but I feel relatively confident that Glasnow is going to be just fine, because the stuff usually, whatever the baseball version of ball don't lie is, a pitcher with that good of stuff is usually going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. That's definitely the hope. And if he does come back healthy, we're going to be if he continues to kind of bounce back from his health scare, that's what I'll call it. They're going to be in a good spot, and he could be a number 1. He could be a number 2. But Yamamoto, that's my big X factor for this rotation. Because if you get those 2 guys that you brought in the offseason to be your 1 and 2, you're going to be in a phenomenal spot. Player in the chat, also one of our fine supporters on Patreon, I think it is, but saying, I'm with Clint. Yamamoto is the frontline ace when he's healthy. You got to have him. If not, I'm still not enthralled by the idea of Flaherty and Glasnow. You're a lot better off than you were last year, and I think that's an important factor to take into consideration.
And the fact is, if Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani and Will Smith and Max Muncy show up in the postseason, Lance Lynn could win a postseason game for this team. Like this offense, if they show up,
you're going with the if again.
Hey, The fact is, that's why you go get these guys. And I know a lot of people just think that putting on a Dodger uniform means you're not going to hit in October, but it's not always true, and it doesn't have to be true. And, I think that Mookie Betts' time off is going to help him in October. I think there's going to be a lot of things that are different this October. And, obviously you want as good a pitching as you can get, but it's going to come down to, the Dodgers only scored 2 runs in each of those 3 games against the D-backs last year. That's why they lost. It wasn't because of Lance Lynn. The Dodgers only allowed 4 runs in that game that Lance Lynn started.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember how those 4 runs came in. Slips my mind right now. But, the Dodgers averaged 5.5 runs last year. If that team shows up, the Dodgers win that game. They lost 2 games 4-2. That's why they lost,
Yeah.
So they've got pitching. Tyler Glasnow, if he can go out and keep the other team to 3 or 4 runs, and the offense shows up, Dodgers win the game. Same with Gavin Stone, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Jack Flaherty, Tarik Skubal, River Ryan Yarbrough. Oh, rest in peace, Ryan Yarbrough. Whoever it is, the offense needs to show up,
I want to throw this one out here. I got it from Nando390, our friend here on the internet, saying if the Dodgers fire Dave Roberts, they'll win. Is there anything Dave Roberts is doing that's holding this team back?
You know what? When you said Nando's name, I almost interrupted you and said, I bet the phrase fire Dave Roberts is in there.
It was a little jumbled, but yeah.
Yeah, he got it in there. Managers are responsible for very little of the success or failures that a team has. Dave Roberts did not give Mookie Betts the go 0-for-20 sign in the NLDS last year or whatever it was. He didn't give the Dodgers the don't hit with runners in scoring position in 2022. The fact is, players got to play. And I agree with more of Dave Roberts' moves than a lot of the Twitter group and chat room do. Somebody told me today on my YouTube comments that I only agree with Dave Roberts to get people fired up. Turns out I actually do believe that the manager with the highest winning percentage in baseball history is a decent manager. I don't agree with everything. I believe Dave Roberts cost the Dodgers the 2019 NLDS. I think that is clearly a case where sending Clayton Kershaw out for the 8th inning was a bad decision, indefensibly bad. But I think most of the other moves he's made in the postseason fall somewhere between I understand why he did it or I totally agree with it. When Rich Hill hands you the ball when you walk out to the mound, you can't hand it back and say, no, I want you to stay in. That ship has sailed. There's so.
I mean, there's definitely been plenty of moments like bringing Pedro Baez back into the game where he thought he was coming out in the World Series. Luckily, nobody talks about that one anymore because they ended up winning that World Series. But still, I mean, there's a lot of moments we can call out, but I still I challenge somebody to say, here's a clear, better manager for this team. And if somebody says Mike Scioscia, they're dead wrong. They're just wrong.
And if the offense shows up the next 3 Octobers, Dave Roberts is going to the Hall of Fame, because it's all about how the players play. It's not about the manager. And there are moves they can make that make you 3% more or less likely to win a game. But in the end, if Evan Phillips gets the out on Saturday, nobody cares that they took Robleski out of the game. If Alex Vesia gets an out instead of giving him a home run, nobody cares about that one. People care about that even though the Dodgers won the game. It's up to the players to play the game, and there's very little a manager can do to affect that.
And I appreciate that you are almost channeling some Taylor Swift and saying the player is going to play, but you didn't quite get there with.
I think about her all the time on that MLB network when I'm watching games. And you love the players. You love the game. Yeah, I do love the players,
that's why I'm
and
here.
I love the game.
Speaking of players, player re-upped as a channel member here during the stream. Appreciate you, player. Also one of the people who hangs out with us on the Discord chat. Got a $10 super chat from our friend Doom Sal. Mike says, I've been writing about Yamamoto for a few years. He will take it to another level in October. And I agree with that because what we saw from him in his last start against the Yankees, that was exciting. That gave me the hope I've been missing for the Dodgers and the postseason. That's been absent. You haven't really had that. Oh, the Dodgers are really every year you enter the postseason or they enter the postseason. It's at least the last 3 where there's a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. If there was, and there's going to be again this year. But Yamamoto being that guy at the top of a rotation, that can be really frightening for another organization. People appreciating, I think, the Taylor Swift. Michael Negretti says Taylor Swift to the Dodgers. Do we have sources? Can we confirm this, Jeff?
I just know you're going to need to put my name up on the screen because somebody called me Jeff Snider. Am I the 3rd Steiner brother?
Almost there. There he is, right there. Again, see,
call me Big Papa Pump.
That is Big Papa Pump, also known as Sny Dog, your fine co-host of Locked On Dodgers every single day of your life on weekdays. Quickly, I want to talk a second about Tanner Scott because I saw somebody mentioning Tanner Scott in the comments. Do you think the Kopech deal and knowing that Grove is coming back, Gratterall's coming back, Brazier's coming back, they're days away, some of those guys from being back. Do you think the Dodgers are done on the reliever market?
Not necessarily. I do think if they make another trade for a reliever, it would have to be somebody top end like Tanner Scott.
Yeah.
Tanner Scott is the kind of reliever you make room for. Max Muncy was a Gold Glove caliber first baseman, and the Dodgers went and signed Freddie Freeman because when Freddie Freeman's available, you make room for Freddie Freeman. Tanner Scott is that kind of reliever. And so, he's not replacing the top end of your bullpen. He's replacing your worst reliever. And when you talk about Alex Vesia probably needs an IL stint right now, just to rest. They could justify it based on his velocity yesterday. They could send him to the IL. There's going to be guys who need rest who the Dodgers can phantom IL them or whatever it is. And then you get to October, there's worse things than saying, hey, Brazier, you're not going to be on the NLDS roster. And then we're going to flip-flop you and Joe Kelly for the NLCS or whatever it is to have guys rested and ready. You can never have too much good relief. And, the problem with relievers is it's impossible to know who's going to be a good reliever 3 weeks from now. So I wouldn't want them to just go get anybody. I think Kopech is worth taking a flyer on, but Tanner Scott is good enough, gets those strikeouts that for me, absolutely, if Tanner Scott's available, they should make that happen.
Yeah, I personally, I don't see another relief pitcher move going just because Cole mentioned it somewhere. I lost it, but talking about at these prices, essentially, the relief prices are absurd, and to give up, maybe have to give up a River Ryan or a Diego Cartaya or somebody like that, giving a top 10, top 15 guy, even a Landon Knack, giving them away for a reliever, that's a tough one for me to stomach, and I got a lot of stomach to give with that one. Our friend Tim, though, says Dodgers can't count on any of their relievers, keep getting more. The team has also been burned by, having a lack of relief help in the past or in recent years. But I still think they feel confident enough with what they have, and presuming they hold on to a River Ryan, he's somebody who could very well plug into a bullpen role. Same with Robleski. Maybe that's where Bobby Miller's future lies, is in relief as a 2-pitch pitcher. Just really focus on those. Go out, give it everything you have for 1 inning, and call it a day. So they in my opinion, they have enough options there where they could spend those assets on a Flaherty, or if they want to go get one more piece, if they feel that bad about Muncy and they feel that bad about maybe Miguel Rojas's forearm and this time off, and whatever it is, they could maybe get one more bat, even though there's not really a bat out there, unless we get see them go out and get somebody like a Brent Rooker, who I think is the only other like legitimate power threat that's available out there. Because you sold me, or you I guess I'll say you turned me off on the Luis Robert. I was high on him for a while, but I think you have to be out on him. And Brent Rooker's the only guy. Again, he's got adult strength. Nobody else does. Yeah, and Brent Rooker wouldn't be great defensively on left. Guess what? That's what Teoscar Hernandez is. Move Teoscar to right, where he is good defensively. Brent Rooker would be replacing Andy Paez in this scenario. Yeah,
that's an upgrade. That is absolutely an upgrade, and so. If that's available, do it. And, I guess clarifying my Tanner Scott, I'm not saying go get Tanner Scott at all costs. I agree with you on paying for a reliever should be different than paying for a pitcher or a hitter. And so I don't want them trading, I don't want to see repeats of the Josh Fields trade, but there's trades to be made. I'm all aboard the Rooker train if the Dodgers want to do that.
Anybody else? Do they try to get a Luis Rengifo? I was on the Isaiah Kiner-Falefa deal or train for a little bit, and it looks like the Blue Jays are selling off. Or is Edman and Rosario enough?
Yeah, I wasn't on the IKF train with you. I think there's too long a history of him not being a good hitter. I'm not totally buying into this year. Rengifo. I think the Edman trade probably suggests that the Dodgers decided the Angels weren't going to trade with them. They could probably still make room for Rengifo, but Rengifo, if they went with Edman in center field, Rengifo could be the third baseman for now. And then again, that's an upgrade if your utility guys, instead of Chris Taylor and Kike Hernandez, they are Tommy Edman and Luis Rengifo, because everybody else came back healthy and effective. There's worse problems to have. But I don't really see the Angels making that deal because of reasons.
Because of reasons, yeah. One big Artie Moreno-sized reason. So, what else? I mean, I don't know that there's more like big splashes out there. I really don't. With just the state of the trade deadline as we kind of wrap up this part of the show. We got more show coming up. I am going to let Jeff get out of here, and then we'll all talk a little bit more solo. But am I wrong? Am I wrong to have that feeling where I think this was their day?
Yeah, I mean, this was the big day. As far as today was the quantity day, I'm hoping tomorrow's the quality day.
I like it.
You patched the holes today, and now go get somebody to sit in the boat that you've patched the holes of with your flex. What's it called? Flex seal?
The Flex seal, yeah.
Slap it on.
Slap it on.
Tommy Edman slaps that Flex seal on the boat, and now you can hold a Tarik Skubal or Jack Flaherty or Garrett Crochet in the boat to carry you to the port called World Series champions. I'm the Scott Boras of this analogy. Yeah.
It was really, it started I saw it unwinding, and I was proud of it. I was happy that how that all turned out. Guys, that is wait, what did somebody call you? Jeff
Steiner.
Steiner.
Big Papa Pump, Jeff Steiner. Yeah.
That is Mr. Jeff Snider, the fine co-host of Locked On Dodgers. You guys are going, you said you're going live tonight with Vince as well, right?
Vince and I will be live at 10 p.m. Pacific tonight. We're going to give this day time to, hopefully see if anything else is going to happen today. We just do a half hour at a time. It'll be quick and punchy to the point, but live on YouTube at 10 o'clock tonight. Please join us over there. All 511 of you. We lost 170 when I started saying Dave Roberts was a good manager. Sorry about that, guys.
It happens. Or maybe somebody else went live. But again, apparently you're supposed to kiss your bicep on the way out. But appreciate you hanging out on this show. Like I said, I saved what I thought was the most important one of these trade deadline shows. I saved the most important one for you because I know you could be the voice of reason, but also, I hear you're paid off by the Dodgers to say all the right things and agree with everything they do.
They must have the wrong address because I could use the money. Dodgers, if you're listening, you want to pay me to say nice things about me? Let's make that happen. I will sell out for the right price.
Los Dodger says this dude thinks Roberts is good, and that's the one we'll sign off on. Or get you out of here on, guys. Make sure you give him a follow on the X, the Twitter, or whatever. It's at Snydog, and of course, co-host the Locked On Dodgers podcast every day here, every weekday on the YouTube and on your podcast platform. So make him maybe your first listen, or listen to me first and then listen to them second. But it's always a good time.
Listen, that's all that matters.
Listen, yeah. You don't even have to listen. Just push click the button, give us the engagement, and then we'll head
numbers,
out.
Baby.
But we'll talk again soon, bud. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Thanks, Clint. Talk soon.
Take it sleazy. Guys, thanks for hanging out so far. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep, as some would say, keep rocking with you here on the show. I want to know what you guys think so far. There's been a lot of me, a lot of him, but I want to know how you guys feel about this trade deadline. I want to know more about how you guys feel about this trade deadline because, again, like I said, I'm still somewhat mixed about it. I think they did a good job of raising the floor. There's no doubt that they did a good job of raising the floor, but they didn't win any headlines. I'm happy they cut Ryan Yarbrough. That makes a lot of sense. I was very out on Yarbs. I think there's a few more cuts they need to make. I think very soon well, not even very soon. I already said it earlier, but the 40-man roster, that's going to become a massive issue for this team within the week, if not tomorrow, because they have to kind of get some of these people activated and put on the roster. So again, I'm mixed on where we're at. I'll give it a B. I'm giving today a B so far, knowing that most of the issues with this roster are going to be fixed internally. It's going to be fixed by getting Freddie Freeman back from the horrible situation that he's dealing with, that his family's dealing with their son Maximus, getting Mookie back, who I still maintain that Mookie is somebody who is an option to go back into the outfield, maybe as a center fielder if they don't like Tommy Edman in center field. I do think Tommy Edman is the center field fix for this team at the moment. I think that was kind of they bought a Band-Aid in case they scraped their knee. Andy Pages is very clearly not the answer in center field. The defense is just not there. It's not good. But, Mookie, like we said, him, Miguel Rojas with that forearm, if he's out, you have somebody who could plug in there still with Edman or with Nick Ahmed. Probably not Amed Rosario. Is the CT3 groin issue worse than expected? That's another thing where I look at these two deals and I'm kind of curious about it. And then Muncy, I think at this point, as you plan for the future without him, and it's a happy surprise if he returns. But again, I want to know what you guys think. Jenny Vega has a really good point. She says, join the Discord by supporting the show, supporting me through Patreon at patreon.com/realfrg. Appreciate the plug and the love and the chat here. Jenny, as of course, and guys, hit the subscribe button if you wouldn't mind. We'll be here for a little bit more. I see Jeff still in the chat. I did mean to bring this up in there, but we were already talking for an hour about a bunch of different stuff. But Jeff says here in the chat saying he doesn't think Mookie Betts is an outfielder anymore. So maybe we'll get back together in a couple weeks and talk about that. Let's see what happens tomorrow at the deadline. Kenny Chung would rather not have a CT 161 because he's not even CT3 anymore. He was doing better. Neil Casamoto in the chat. What's going on, Neil? Good to see you in here, bud. So given this trade deadline so far a D-, and I don't know if you're going D-, I don't know that there was an A available out there then, because again, there's not a lot of options unless his team ends up with Tarik Skubal or Garrett Crochet. There's not a lot of options, not a lot of like crazy frontline talent available out there that the Dodgers can go out and grab. Joseph Garcia giving him a C+. Mr. Classic saying it's not 6 p.m., it's 3 p.m. It's 3 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow is trade deadline, 6 p.m. Eastern time, so 3 p.m. Pacific time. Harold Smith giving the Dodgers an F- so far, and I'm assuming Harold is very, very difficult to please, and that's fine. You should be. As Dodgers fans, we should be difficult to please because there's a lot expected out of this team, and this season is so much more than we've ever kind of experienced. When you go out and commit 1.3 billion dollars to players, you got to expect World Series or bust. That said, I still don't think, like Dave Roberts he's not on the hot seat. I just really don't think that the front office is ready to move on from Dave. They don't have anybody else really waiting in the wings either. That's kind of a reality there. But let's move on, guys. We do have some overreactions. I'm going to call that part of my overreactions as well. Like I think my overreaction is I'm mixed. I'm mixed on it, but I'll downgrade. I think I said B. I'm going to go B- on the trade deadline so far. They did well with what they had available. I do like Amed Rosario coming back if he can play third base and be okay. Anybody that is not Kevin Biggio, I am a fan of. So I like Nick Ahmed. He's not Kevin Biggio. I like Tuami Edman. He's not Kevin Biggio. I also like Swollen Sausage with $1.99 super chat saying, what about adding Doc into a trade? Rojas wants it. I mean, if you want to have Miguel Rojas become your player manager on the job in the year that you're trying to go out and win a World Series, I don't think that's going to happen. Johnny Owen saying it feels like last year's Padres, the $1.3 billion. Padres they spent a lot of money. They committed a lot of money. Some of it, though, was very questionable where they decided to put some of that money, to put a lot of that money into extending players that they didn't even need to necessarily extend at that point. The Yu Darvish deal did not make a lot of sense. Manny Machado for 11 years. Probably didn't make a lot of sense at that point. I'm pretty sure if they could back out and not do the Xander Bogaerts deal, they probably do that. The very unnecessary Jake Cronenworth deal. Hey, you know what? Peter Seidler, he wanted it. Rest in peace. He wanted it, and his team's going to be around as is for quite some time. Let's see what I saw one here. Where did you go? K-Dog saying the front office needs to beat some common sense into him and with how and when to use a bullpen. Dave and the bullpen is always going to be kind of a learning curve, kind of a learning issue, kind of the problem area, but still, I don't know that there is a clear, obvious manager right now that would be, better or comparable to Dave. On the other hand, hey, Dave was handed the keys to a Lambo, and other people out here driving Toyota Celicas. That's all I got. But hey, let's talk about a couple of the voicemails here. We do have 2, 3, something like that. I think there's 2. We got 2 voicemails so far. We got some lengthy voicemails from what I'm seeing here. Let's listen to this one was left yesterday after the Dodgers win by our friend Richard Flores. So let's see what Richie has to say about the Dodgers after sneaking a win against just avoiding the sweep against the Houston Astros.
Hey, Clint. Happy Monday to you. Well, never underestimate Dave Roberts for coming up with new, in amazing ways to fuck up. I just don't get it. The analytics are great. The tracking of who does what against who and what's the percentage, if this is going to hit this pitch or that pitch, is great. But analytics and the computer have completely taken the human element out of the game. Let's go back to the 6th inning on Saturday's game, shall we? The kid had battled his way, given him almost 6 strong innings, and he gets into a little trouble, but then he gets the last out to make it 2 outs. And then Dave comes, and he brings his hook, and he yanks him off the mound, only to watch Phillips and the rest of the Dodger bullpen shit all over themselves on national television. Dave just does not allow his young pitchers to battle. He had earned the right to finish the 6th inning. And even if the kid gives up a 3-run shot, the 3-run shot doesn't beat you. It's still 5-3. They don't allow left-handed hitters to go against left-handed pitchers. The analytics have taken the human out of the game. Now we go into San Diego, and they're going to be high as a kite. They're going to be more excited than a 21-year-old that took a whole bottle of Viagra before going out on his first date. These two games are huge. It's only a 6.5 game lead, but drop those two. Now it's a 4.5 game lead, and now all of a sudden you're giving the Padres the last thing that you want to do. Hope. And hope is a tremendous weapon. F the Dodger Stadium parking lot. F Altuve. F Alex Bergman. F the 2017 Astros. F Manny Machado. F Petco Park. F the Padres. And for the love of God, F the Ghost Runner. Here you go.
Richard Flores, never, ever a dull moment. The sixth inning, I think that's one everybody would like to take back. Robleski, he wanted that inning. Hearing a Dodger employee, Jerry Harrison Jr., kind of slam Dave, come the closest he could to slamming Dave. It was kind of an embarrassing inning, but also, something I talked about with Lana Rizzo earlier today on Dodgers territory. It's just the state of the game. That's how they have these things mapped out. They have these plans. I think, so many of us would love to see more of the old school in there, more of let guys finish their outings or get closer to finishing their outings. Maybe even let Robleski allow one of his runs to come home. Because I think exiting the game and getting Kershaw, kind of having your inherited runners come in, for you, somebody else allowing those. I think that one is more of a sour taste in your mouth, especially as a younger pitcher. I think that's a worse taste in your mouth than giving it up yourself. The chances are he wasn't going to give up a grand slam or a homer or whatever it was in that situation. But even if he did, at least it was him. He did it on his own. Padres. We'll talk about Padres in a second. Good stuff there. Really good stuff from Rich in his call. So appreciate again Rich calling in on the Overreactions hotline, the voicemail hotline, friend of the show voicemail hotline, which is part of our Patreon tier and the YouTube members. If you guys want to call in, we can do more post games. We get call-ins and all that kind of stuff. I think it'd be a lot of fun. But we got one more from our friend Noah Ortega. So let's listen to Noah. I gotta push.
What up, guys? It's Noah, as you know, and I gotta say, guys, I am very angry at Dave Roberts. Come on, you pull a starter super early, and come on, you repeat the same exact mistake on Sunday by pulling River Ryan with only one out left. Like, come on, Dave. And at least, guys, ain't as bad as when he and Luis Arraez versus the Padres earlier this year, and they walked it off. It's times like these when I question whether I want to defend or attack Dave Roberts, because he's losing me. And Friedman, get your checkbook out and stop dumpster diving. We need a trade. We need a starting pitcher. Whatever it takes. Parades over prospects. And after what happened with Kyle Hurt, trades before injury. Like, let's get them out if we're not going to give them playtime. And then on top of that, guys, oh boy, I am low-key done with Andy Pages. We need a center fielder because Andy Pages is not the same guy he was when he came out of nowhere from the minors and hit that walk-off. That Andy Pages is gone. And on top of that, guys, we are going to be a totally different team in October, so don't panic. If Friedman doesn't make a move, well, then we're probably not going to win the World Series, but there's still hope that we can at least make it, and there's always that chance that we will get hot. Because, friendly reminder, the Diamondbacks were not the best team in baseball, and yet they got to the World Series. At the end of the day, it's about who gets hot in October. It's not so much who has the best team. But let's hope the office doesn't do the same mistake. Rely on players to come back from injury and be themselves. Because if that happens, it's just a repeat of 2022. Ironically enough, San Diego's on our tail, and we're probably going to face them just like in 2022. And you guys should really join the Patreon and Discord. The Discord is fun. We talk trades all day. We're literally 24/7 giving each other news and giving our thoughts. And you may learn a thing or two about Clint's thoughts on Gavin Lux before he discusses them. Because believe me, guys, Clint was a believer the entire time. Right, Clint?
I'll buy
Have a good
in.
one, guys.
I'll buy in. I'll totally buy in. Noah Ortega, appreciate you calling in. Guys, if you want to leave voicemails on the voicemail overreaction hotline, you see those things. They're right there. There you go. Patreon.com/RealFRG, YouTube.com/@AllDodgers/join, or just push the join button in here. But a lot of talk about the Padres there. A lot of talk about Dave there. I don't want to dive too much more into Dave. I see also Jeff in the chat. I probably should have just left him on the show to be talking about Dave and the situation there with the pitchers bringing the rookies out. Like, I understand both sides of it. I would like to see one more out. Just give them one more chance, one more pitch even, to try to get out of their own innings. But that's just my take on it. I do enjoy, old, kind of a little more old school baseball. But that's my style. It's not the game style anymore. Mentioned Padres, guys. We mentioned Padres. Let's talk about the Padres. Dodgers go to San Diego to play 2 games with against the San Diego Padres, and hopefully they ride a little bit of momentum, taking that final game against the Astros there in Houston. But you got to take advantage of this day off. You got to take advantage of the deadline and this. Hopefully it's a boost. They look at all these guys. They see this front office doing what it can to boost the roster that has so many issues, or is missing so many pieces right now. They said, hey, we're going to reward you. We believe in you, which they should. It's a very expensive roster, but you need to accept, or they need to appreciate the fact that they still went out and got Tommy Edman. Don't know when Edman's going to come back. I think he's still a week or 2 away from actually playing. So we're not even going to see Tommy Edman. To throw that out there for the people who don't know, Tommy Edman is injured. He has not played this year, had a wrist injury, and then had an ankle injury while he was returning from, he was on a minor league rehab assignment with his wrist injury. So kind of is giving 2021 Trey Turner deadline edition, because Trey didn't play for I think it was a full week because he had COVID or something like that. So that's where they're at. We're not going to see Edman for about a week, but we will see Amed Rosario pretty quickly. I think they really need to look at him as I hope they look at him as the everyday third baseman going forward. I would love to see them plug a third baseman in there. He's somebody who's played a lot of shortstop in his career, hopefully just sticking at one position and going through the growing pains there. That's the best case scenario. He played a little bit of everywhere while being in Tampa, including a lot of outfield, a lot of right field and all that, but that's not his job. That's not his role here. Have him play third, like Jeff mentioned too. If he's going to be the right-handed or the lefty platoon to Gavin Lux at second base, even though Luxie's, we don't buy in completely yet on him hitting lefties, but it's kind of, he had a couple of knocks against lefties in recent days and over the last week. I was always, like Noah said, always bought in on Gavin Lux, wink, wink. But yeah, so Dodgers playing the Padres again. Take advantage of the day off. Take advantage of that deadline, that spark in the clubhouse, knowing you're getting some help is coming into the clubhouse. They also, it sucks you lose some people. I know how much the players, the organization, the roster, that clubhouse loved Miguel Vargas, so that is a big hit. He didn't have any opportunity here with this club, so like my friend Casey Porter says all the time over with Dodgers Daily, he would rather see these guys get opportunities to go out and play, and that is what Miggy Vargas is going to get. So 2-game series with the Padres. It is Tyler Glasnow going up against knuckleballer Matt Waldron. And with Glasnow, this is a prove-it game. You need to put the last couple of months behind you. The last, really 4, 5, 6 weeks, something like that. He's been off. He's definitely been off. Figure it out, Glas. Get back on the ball. Show that you can be that ace in the event that somebody like Yoshinobu Yamamoto does not come back. And then game 2, Clayton Kershaw going up against Dylan Cease, who just recently threw that no-hitter. So it's, they're kind of throwing out if pieces, if they don't add a Jack Flaherty and they don't get a Yamamoto back, there is a world where this could be your 1 and 2 in the postseason, which is a little scary. It's definitely a little scary. But I always feel good, wink, wink, when Clayton Kershaw is on the mound. So I'm looking forward to seeing these two guys, this series here. Kershaw, I think this is the first time the Dodgers have faced Cease since he's been a Padre as well, so that is going to be fun. So the final not-so-hot takes I have for you before we get out of here is we've seen this Dodgers team struggle against the Padres. This is a series that suddenly is very important because the Padres they've been playing well through all of that. They still haven't really gained ground on the Dodgers. With their loss yesterday, they're still at 6.5 games behind the Dodgers. But all of a sudden, if they take these 2 games, if they sweep this mini series, 4.5 games does not look as good, and you're going back home, and the Dodgers are not feeling good. Fans are not feeling good. So the Dodgers really need to get it up, and they need to get it up early. They need to get it up before the Padres do in this series, and we don't see them doing that. We never see them doing that against this Padres team. So, get your heads out your ass, get some points on the board early, and just take the Padres out of the game. Take their crowd out of the game as well. Padres fans, all of a sudden, showing up to Petco Park. Who knew? Also, if the Padres do win, are they going to be stupid and, put up a crying Kershaw meme again? Or are they going to finally, grow the fuck up and act like they've been there before? So those are my not so hot takes to end this thing. Neil Casimoto says score early and often, and I could not agree any more than that. I don't know says, is Freddie playing, or asks, is Freddie playing? And I don't know. We haven't heard an update yet. I think it was definitely going to be, he was going to be out for the Houston series. Knowing Freddie Freeman, I would not be shocked to see him back with the team for this Padres series. He is not a dude that takes sitting out very lightly. So he could be back, or it's because it's a 2-game series. Maybe they give him, he gives himself one more short series there. But guys, that is about it. We'll be back tomorrow, 90 minutes before trade deadline. So what is that? I don't have my math guy here. Jeff, where are you at? So if it's a 3 p.m., it's anyways, we'll be live at 1:30-ish here on the channel unless something breaks sooner. Myself and Tim Rogers will be live here on the channel talking about the deadline, going through the deadline, having all our reactions. I hope you hang out with us. I know a lot of people are going to be live. We want to interact with you as much as we can. We're going to be talking to each other a little bit, but also really focusing on the comments and not just talking to, ourselves or myself talking to somebody in a little tiny box in the corner or whatever it is. We're going to be here with you guys reacting to these deals or the lack of deals. Seeing who else, because it's not just about the Dodgers. What are the Padres going to do? What are the Giants going to do? What are the Phillies going to do? That's a team you really got to watch out for. So, more deadline conversation will also continue in our Discord chat. Thanks to our Patreon supporters for supporting the show. Thanks to our YouTube members. Thank you guys, all of you guys, so damn much for helping support the show. It's just $5 a month, and I think you also get some cool bonuses with it if you like. Joining a little community of Dodgers fans talking on Discord. Again, patreon.com/realfrg. Hit the join button here on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the great comments, the questions, the interaction here on the show. Thank you so damn much for the super chats. If you did drop some in here, got to shout out the mods for doing a great job. I got to shout out Jeff Snider for hanging out with me for an hour. He's used to going for only 30 minutes at a time. So props to Jeff for hanging out here on the channel. And again, check him out tonight. Locked On Dodgers will be live tonight, 10 p.m. Pacific time. That's about it. All Dodgers is presented by Bet Online. I am Real FRG on all of the social media things. Give me a follow. Hopefully, we earned a thumbs up here on the way out. I would appreciate it. Hopefully, you consider subscribing to the channel on the way out. That would really, really help some things out. But anyways, subscribing is completely free, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.